Alright, we're going to talk about dirt bike chain maintenance. Obviously the biggest thing with chain maintenance is keeping the chain clean. I run a 2011 KX250F with a non-O-ring chain. I have run an O-ring chain before and I didn't see a noticeable decrease in power. Maybe at the factory level, at elite racing level, I could see that maybe to be a factor, but in your C to B class racing, I don't think it's killing enough power to make a difference. But the reason I run the non-O-ring chain is because I can buy 2 non-O-rings for what a O-ring chain cost, and I would rather just buy a new chain than do extended maintenance on it. A couple of tools that will be pretty important with chain maintenance, besides your daily, everyday cleaning, is going to be kerosene. That's what I have in this container here, and I'm not sure if you can see, but at the bottom here is dirt, and I'm a huge stickler about chain maintenance, and every time I ride I use a proper chain cleaner to remove my chain oil, but still, you can't get everything out of those links. So kerosene really helps break down that what's in between the links. And obviously you're going to need some kind of container to put the chain in. And then I use a pair of like side cutting pliers, not dikes, but they actually have the plier up front. This is really going to help remove the chain without damaging the master link at all. So we'll jump to next, removing the chain and master link. Okay, obviously as we can see here, this is a Renthal Gold racing chain, the R1 Works chain. This here is what we call the master clip. As you can see, the clip always needs, the back of the clip, the unopened side, always need to be installed in the direction of travel. This is to keep the chain coming loose inadvertently. On this side of the master link, it's open and it locks into this pin here. A lot of people just take a screwdriver and pry this open and remove the link this way, and ideally that's not the best way to do it. This clip needs to remain as flat as possible, and it needs to remain as much tension on this clip as possible. And as we're going to see, let me move the camera, as we're going to see here in just a second, if you take these pliers and you grab the reverse side of this clip with one edge and the back side of this pin with the other, and you squeeze, it will force the clip over the pin. I'm having to do this around the camera, and the pin should come off, or the clip should come off, which it just did. And then the master clip can be, or you'll take the front side of this pin off, and then this front plate here will be removed, just as so, nice and gently. That comes off, and then there is going to be that actually comes out. Then the chain will be able to be removed off the sprocket. As such, the chain is going to slide right off. As you can see now, the chain has been removed and put in your container of choice. I just use these disposable baking pans because it tends to get pretty nasty. Just for reference, as my preference, I use PJ1 Blue Label chain lube. It's advertised as clear and won't fly off. I prefer this over some waxes because I found that the waxes sling off the chain once applied, get all over the bike, and then tends to collect dirt more readily than this. Then For everyday bike maintenance, while the chain's on it, after each ride, I use a Maxima cleanup chain cleaner. It's just specifically formulated for power sports industry, which it does a great job. It does break down the chain lube to a certain extent. I'll still go ahead and power wash the links, but as you can see, I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell, but there is still some dirt here on the chain, and you can never get all that water out of between these links, and it does develop rust over time. And your biggest wear on your chain is where the pins go through the tubes of the chain, where that pivot point is. If you don't get that dirt out of there very, very well, it will cause excessive wear for sure. Alright, now, like I said, I use kerosene to clean this chain. I reuse my kerosene I keep in this bottle, and then the debris that comes out settles on the bottom very nicely. So you can reuse your kerosene lots of times, really. Use just enough to cover the bottom of the tray, and then you probably can't see it on the video, but already the kerosene's begin to turn colors. We're starting to pull this stuff off. I mean, kerosene works extremely well, and I just tend to slosh it back and forth quite a few times. And then, sorry, I had to find my brush. I take one of these bristled brushes and I kind of just scrub the top of the chain here, one side, or the side plate of the chain. I scrub it for a minute, get all that gunk off there, get in there, dig around, scrub one side, break any of that old dirt off there. And then I'll take the chain, I'll tip it over and repeat. And we'll come back after I've done that. Okay, now as we can obviously see, my chain was what I would consider clean when I left the track. But generally, every oil change, which I do about every 4 to 6 hours of ride time, when I do an oil change, I go ahead and do what I guess you'd say deep chain cleaning. And you can see just what come out of that chain with this kerosene. See how dirty that is. And the good thing is I can let this settle, let the solid settle to the bottom, and slowly pour it back into my jug, and I can reuse this over time. Once it comes out of the kerosene solution, I generally take it outside and give it a very, very good spraying with a hose. Try to get as much of that kerosene out of it as possible, and then allow it to thoroughly air dry for a few hours, and then I will fully lubricate the chain with Blue Label chain lube, and then reinstall on the motorcycle. And I will show reinstalling the master clip and showing the proper direction of that in the next segment. Okay, as we can see here, the chain has been cleaned and dried now. And once the chain is pretty much dry, I bring it in and actually use a torch to go ahead and dry. Make sure the chain gets good and dry on the internals. And while the chain is still warm, I go ahead and apply the chain lube, which gives a much better penetration. The chain lube, this particular chain lube, sprays out it sprays out quite thin. And after a few minutes of exposure to the air, the chain lube begins to thicken up. It becomes quite tacky. So you initially want to remove the excess chain lube quite quickly, which I just use with some shop tails. Now I will reinstall chain on the back, and then show proper master link installment. Okay, now as we can see here, we have the chain installed back on the back, and chain does not need to be installed in any specific order. As you can see here, we have two small interlinks, which is the way it'll always wind up facing. Now at this point, we want to make sure that our master link is cleaned and lubricated, which I've done so. Generally, you want to have the master link installed from the rear through both holes, like so, and then we're going to have the the plate, the fixed plate installed back on, and then we're going to install the clip for the master link. This is the part that needs to be installed in a specific direction. This direction is forward on the back, and you want the close end installed forward, because as it goes through the front chain wheel, you want to make sure that if any debris is in there and it hits this end, then it's only forcing the pin on more. As you can see, the pin has to be installed that direction over the clip, and then we're going to use our pliers once again, grab the pin and the clip, and I know you probably can't see this, it's just a tough angle. Grab the front of the clip and one of the pins and squeeze with the pliers. And as you can see, the pin is, or the clip is reinstalled in the correct direction.